Welcome to the Brave Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Hampton, and this is your weekly boost of empowerment. Fearless. Without fear, bold or brave, intrepid. The Brave Evolution is all about you being brave enough to dig deep, face the fears, face the ugly, and face the horrible cards you were dealt, and allowing the beautiful jewels inside of you to take root and to grow. On this week's episode, I have my dear friend and sister, Jasmine Smith, the founder and CEO of Envision Media Group. She's from Franklin, Virginia, and she's a powerful woman and entrepreneur. And I just wanted her to share a little bit about her journey of being fearless. Let's watch. Hi, Miss Jasmine.
Hey, Chantel, Telly.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm
You
doing
look fabulous.
Thank you. You do too, as always.
You.
Thank you for taking some time out to talk to us today. I'm super excited because one, I feel like this has been a long time coming.
Yes.
Um, it feels like we've graduated, like we've we've made some progress in our walk and in our evolution, and
Yes.
just grateful that you would join and talk with me just about your journey and about your process. So, um, I've already kind of prepped my viewers about who you are, but
Hey, y'all.
the brains behind Envision Media. I mean, just so that y'all know, Jasmine and I have been sisters and friends now. We've been walking together for the past 7 years. And when we started back in 2014, we became friends. We really connected based around having similar illness and struggling with both fibromyalgia and arthritis. And um, so we were two grandmas talking about,
Yes. Aiken.
but let's go back.
Okay.
14, what was happening in your life? Where were you? Um, what was your thought process like? I can remember you were about to start an internship.
I was
Um,
supposed to say, what was I doing, Telly?
you were about to start an internship, but this was was this right after grad school or were you still in grad school?
Yeah. Okay, so 2014 put me a year out of grad school. So I had just finished grad school and I was finishing. It was like the last semester because I had to do the internship to finish.
Finished, right.
And so I took an internship in LA, and it was a management company that had jumped out to me a year prior. I was just listening to a lot of voices coming out of LA in entertainment, but particularly in Christian entertainment. And so this one particular person had really jumped out a year prior, but I kind of completely like put it out of my head until that time came where they were like, you need an internship. And it was almost like God kind of instantly brought that one back up. Like, remember those people that you couldn't forget about when you listened to that service or whatever? I think I was listening to One Church LA or whatever. Right. And so that person that was speaking that day was the same person I actually went to go work for in 2014 that was actually my second time being in LA doing an internship. And so I was back, and that was really when I kind of was ready to go all in, I think, with my passion in media.
Okay. And so talk a little bit about that, like your passion in media, where you come from, just like the background. How did that start?
I was gonna say you, Telly, no, because you inspired my whole journey. Which everybody that's in your class, they know. But by the time I met you and our other friends, that was I guess the period where I kind of was like, okay, media is the thing that I'm going to do. I remember sitting in my master's program in class, and I was supposed to be focusing on class, but I distinctly remember getting the name for my business. So I remember just hearing Envision Media. And it was like, I was looking around like, what? And the teacher sheet is just going on. And it's like everything stopped at that moment. And I literally was sitting down and I started to write out the vision for it, sitting in class. And that was 2013-ish still. And so I remember specifically being mad at like Kanye West and some of the people that were like, had millions of followers that weren't necessarily, in my opinion, using it for positive influence at the time. So I would have like, these arguments with like, like you shouldn't, and the Lord specifically was like, no, go do something about it then. And so it was almost like, I don't mean to be super churchy, but it was almost like a pull of call to just to dedicate to positive influence.
Right.
And it was like it was almost like I was seeing a picture or image of, in the future you will have a lot of influence, but let me teach you now the power of stewarding that influence well, and in affecting the masses with small things like media and positive content. And so why I got started.
That's so cool. That is so cool. And like, I think the stewardship is huge, but also just your ability to see and have a vision. I think
Mhm.
in this time, people have dreams and they have desires, but the vision is always, and this is something that I talk about with my students, but it's always um, encompassing other people. It's always about the
Mhm.
bigger picture and how we can mobilize bigger groups of people based around this concept and this idea that's going to actually change the world.
Yes.
And so, with that, like, let's just even go back. Like, how did you get into media? How did you get into like your desire? I mean, your whole
Yeah.
thing about helping people, one, understand their vision, uh,
Yeah.
understand their identity, and understand their voice and culture in society, but also putting branding and packaging behind that. How did you get into that?
Whew, I think number one, I was around a lot of talented people, like our circle, that always had a need to produce videos, or I started writing poetry and music when I was 9. And so it was almost like I was noticing a pattern of artists or creatives, always kind of, those are the people that I was drawn to. And so um, by the time I graduated high school, my first internship was that first semester of college. So the first semester home, I went right into an internship with a radio station here called 103 Jams. And on in our little area in the 757, that's like the biggest radio station here. So it was like right out of college, I started that, and I was I just was interning. And so I just out the gate was going hard on internships and just simply like serving and helping people who were trying to do something. If I knew a little bit about anything with, whatever they were trying to produce, I would always just try to help. And so that naturally, I think, came from the really, really heavy push of my mentors, that I didn't know anything about interning or studying abroad, which is going out of the country to study. I knew nothing about that, but I kept getting connected with people that would expose me to those things. So by the time the opportunities came, thankfully I had been a little bit prepared to go to Oxford, England for a semester and study, and then go to LA twice for 2 semesters and study there. And so it was always something academic first
Right.
that got me through the door, that I just realized when we were talking about it. It was always something academic. So
Wow. The training ground
yeah.
prepares you
Yes.
for the next step. And like, I think that is so cool that you're saying that, and even making that connection, because I think in that regard we're similar. It's always
Yeah. Yeah.
think it's always something based around training and teaching and mentorship that opens the door for that next stage of our lives, and um always preparing us and like fine tuning.
Yes.
But I think it's always in that preparation that fine tunes us to not only receive that information, but also be able to turn around and teach it. So,
Exactly.
and I feel like that's what you've been doing. And this whole episode was, as you know, we've just been talking about how to be, how
Yes.
and understanding what it means to be. So being dedicated to the task, that was my first episode, and then being love and allowing that frequency of love to resonate in the world. But today I really wanted to talk about being fearless, and you have your fearless t-shirt on that you designed
Hey.
conference before pre-COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
So monumental and so amazing, the people that you had come
Mhm.
and participate in that in the 757 area.
Crazy.
But what is being fearless to you? What does that mean to you?
I think it is always being your biggest supporter. So believing in yourself fearlessly. I think I struggled for the longest time with believing the vision that I had gotten for my life. Like just believing that it could happen. Like it was always something that was just way too big to talk about. And so I had to learn inwardly to just accept and embrace it. So being fearless in pursuit of what you believe you're called to do is, I believe, like the core of fearless. And then and also we know personally just our journey, but like for me it also was a huge battle that I faced in the process with anxiety and depression. And so that was the inward work of healing and consistently allowing God to make me whole so that I can then walk out the bigness of what I've seen, whatever that looks like. And so I think I think that's pretty much the inspiration behind it.
That's so powerful. That is so powerful because it's so true. How do you and how do you feel like even now? So we have both come out of stages of depression and anxiety and just grief and just all of that, and then having to pick ourselves up and continue. How
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in these moments, like where you are now, walking out that fearlessness?
Say that last part again.
I I said, how do you find yourself now in this place that we're in? And after all we've come through, walking out that fearlessness, like not going back to the states of
Ooh,
anxiety.
yeah. That it's not going back. It's like you can remember certain moments or triggers or things like that where you kind of where you hit a wall or whatever. And so for me it's not letting those reminders or triggers of what felt like failure while I was pursuing what I felt like God had called me to do in arts and entertainment. Is really mostly that, like a mental reminder, like you can, look ahead, keep focused ahead, don't get distracted by like the inward, you know um anxiety that, oh, I'm gonna fall back into depression again, because it's like, big sis, like once you go up levels, it's like, I don't want to it's like, Lord, help me have stability on the new levels that you're gracing me with.
Because I'm
That honestly,
ready. Like,
right.
it's like, yeah,
Yes. So it's like that. It's like walking on water. It's like, whoa, you have us
legit.
scaling the heights. Yeah. And
That.
so how do we stay fearless on the mountain now is like, whoa, it's honestly what it feels like for me. And I know, there's, we're going from glory to glory, but every time it's a win, it's like, okay, now what? It's like that fear of, okay, now there's another battle. So, it's
Absolutely get it. So do you have like practical ways like throughout the day? I mean, for me in this stage of my life, I mean, as grown up in church and understanding that, thou shalt not have the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. That's
my mind.
great. but I'm scared right now. Like,
Yo,
freaking out right now. I got
yes.
fear. I know this shouldn't be the case, but I'm looking at this thing, or I have this assignment, or somebody's asked me to do certain things, and I'm like, yo, I've never done this before. This is bigger than what I've ever done. Are there practical ways to walk out that fearlessness? What are some of your ways that you walk it out on a daily basis?
That is a really good question. Honestly, I've been more and more conscious of what thoughts are going through my mind. So I've been very intentional about trying to journal more and more, and I'm making that a daily discipline, just to brain dump. And I'll literally like just be super vulnerable with myself. These are the thoughts that triggered me today.
Mm,
These are the negative feelings that have affected, X, Y, and Z today. And I'll, and I just kind of will deal with myself that way more consistently than avoiding a certain feeling and having to, come back with all of this baggage that we could have dealt with a long time ago. So I've been more consistent about mental maintenance day to day. And then honestly replacing what, if I can capture the thought, if I can put my finger on it and say, this is what made me, all these ripple effects, if I can capture it, and then we can get it to the obedience of Christ. So I literally will, if I can find it, then I'll try to replace it. I will literally try to replace it with a better perspective or thought, or I'll say, Lord, help me to know, help me to see this situation better. Like
yeah,
that's the best thing that I've learned to do right now.
that is so good. So crazy that you're saying that. I'm actually reading a book by Dr. Caroline Leaf, and
Mm.
she's a neurosurgeon, or she's someone that studies the brain. I don't know
I just found her the other day. Yes.
exact practice, um,
Yeah.
but it's called oh gosh, like start your thoughts. I'll like, oh my goodness, hold on, I'll remember it. But
Okay.
pretty much like she is talking about just that, and how we can make a habit of
Mm-hmm.
suppressing thoughts, um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called
Mm-hmm.
switch on your brain. So
Mm-hmm.
habit of suppressing those negative thoughts that you're talking about, and it's not, they're still there, but
Yeah.
those negative thoughts, those things are toxic thoughts, and they can fill up our brain and our subconscious, which is working all the time. And so she says just that when they come up, you need to address them and not
Yes.
push them back down, but address,
Yes.
confront them, and then work through it, because
Yeah.
it's more toxic if you just push it right back down, because it's going to just keep rising up to this surface,
Mm-hmm.
and it harms your brain. It actually makes you brain sick. um,
Mm.
so I'm so glad that you said that, that practical application of literally addressing, like, what am I afraid of? what
What is it? Like, yes.
what is so big that I can't face it? And
Yes.
taking it, confronting it, and sitting down and dealing with it, like, is
Yes.
huge. um it's so huge. And so you're, this is my last question, but like, you are from, you, we said it a few times, 757, from the Franklin area, but I want you to talk a little bit about Franklin, and even as it pertains to what we're talking about, like the mental capacity around being fearless, and just the practical application, and then what you've had to do even regarding your vision. But
Mm-hmm.
coming from Franklin, if you can talk a little bit about that, how have you been able to break cycles, break stereotypes, break just what is projected on especially women of color from the,
Mm-hmm. Ooh, it is a everyday. I would say I have a superhero complex. You know that. Like I try my best to save the world. Like I have that complex. I just love people, and so like my hometown has been my heart. And I think because I feel like, God does things, I don't know, I just feel like your foundation is just super important to where you're going. And so I really try to honor that. And so, but being from a small town where we don't have, I think it was like 95 people in my high school graduating class.
Wow.
I didn't know that was small until I like got out and people were like, what? That was it? So, um, one, getting over the feeling for me for a long time, it took a while for me being okay with being or feeling isolated from the crowd or feeling like a misfit in crowds. And so it was already a small place. And then for me to, always feel set apart, it was difficult. So I was not popular. I definitely wasn't, I had a popular, my best friend was very popular, but I was never like that girl, so I was always very low key. And so breaking through the acceptance part was one. And then breaking through the stereotypes of norms of, you think you're better than us, or why did you come back after you left? Like you could have stayed gone. What happened? And to have the heart to say, no, I came back to give. And so it's been that, honestly, that was a battle. And so I think when I accepted um my place in society just as an inspiration to wherever I am, then I could let down the need for approval and acceptance for those same people. So I just always had a heart for them, for the place that I'm from, to have more programs and more outlets so that, people like me that were searching for more don't have to go away and not come back. Like I feel like you should be able to come back and give or live, but if nothing is there, then you're not gonna want to. And so it's like not a pad. There's nothing set up for that community to be successful.
Mhm, mhm.
So I just always felt like it was a huge gap. And so I got involved with the mentoring program that I mentioned. I had been in the program since high school, and I started working with that organization that would mentor girls throughout the state over the past 10 years. And so when I'm not doing media, it was always being in the school and just loving on the kids, pouring into them, mentoring and or teaching. And so and for me, it gave me a sense of wholeness to because a lot of people kind of get, the hardness of, well, this city didn't do anything for me, or, like, oh, all our homeboys got locked up or are dead. We've lost a ridiculous number of people from since I've been in high school. I mean, since I've been out of high school, it's just been a ridiculous amount of peers that we've lost to gun violence or gangs.
Right.
And so that is, and we haven't even grieved, so it's just a small town. It was a lot of, of that going on. And but just being able to say, what, I feel like there's work that needs to be done here. And maybe all of the journeying was for being able to come back to build those things that I always wanted when I was here. So yeah.
So good. That's so good. And I'm so super, super proud of you. And
Aww.
if you can just share like where people can contact you and and if you want to share anything that you have coming up or anything you're working on, please do. But I would love for people to know how to contact you and how to reach out.
Yeah. Yeah, my let's see, my Instagram is Miss Jazz Smith, Miss Jaz Smith. I am also, of course, on Facebook, but you can follow my business page to see all of the work that we're doing in the community with youth and creative arts. And that's at Envision Media on Facebook. And our website is envisionmediamasters.com.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna add all that stuff in the description box so y'all can get.
Thanks.
But Jazz, I am, as I said, as always, I'm super proud of you and for how far you've come, how far we've come. I'm proud of us. We've come
I'm proud of us.
great. um, a very, very long way. And I just know that we'll just continue to hold each other accountable throughout this journey, especially of being fearless. So thank you. I love
And
Do you want to
thank you. I love you. No, you said fearless, and I was gonna say fearless and brave.
you're brave? Yo, it takes
Hey.
take both. So thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
That was powerful. I don't know about you, but I got something from it. This is just a friendly reminder to be brave, be fearless. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, please like this video, subscribe, and leave us a comment. I love to hear your feedback. Until next week, have a wonderful week filled of brave steps. God bless.